start, Renee. All right, so welcome to I Got You podcast. I'm Heather, your host. I'm here tonight with Keisha and Renee. And our guests tonight are Jamie, Denisha, and Latoya. Latoya has her doctorate in clinical psychology. And ladies, tonight we're doing part 2 of we had an episode with some ladies last week. And this week we're doing a part 2. And she said, what? A woman's perspective. So a couple of our male audience and friends, they sent in some questions they had for us women to answer. So here we go. So our first question is, are Black women taught how to live without a man rather than keep one? And does everybody understand the question? Go ahead, Jamie.
Hello?
Oh, she put it on mute. Sorry, go ahead. So are Black women taught how to live without a man rather than keep one?
That's a spicy question.
It is.
That's a spicy question. I can only speak from my experience. I didn't grow up that way. I have both my parents. They're still together. So that wasn't my experience.
Okay.
However, I have spoken to women who have given a array of different ways that their mother taught them as to how to view relationships. And it's nothing compared to what I was raised with, being taught and also seeing and experiencing.
Okay. You gonna say something, Nisha?
I wouldn't say it's more so we're taught to live without a man.
Right.
I would say we're taught how to be independent so that you won't depend on a man for everything. So when you meet that man that you want to spend your life with, when you meet that partner, you have more so to bring to the table versus what people typically think a woman is supposed to do as far as like cooking and cleaning. You can also provide and do more than take care of the children and help run the household as well, if we're going based upon like tradition on what our grandmothers or our mothers would have kind of taught us.
Right.
So I just think it's more so being taught to be more independent and to be able to provide for yourself without a man, because you don't necessarily need a man to live a fulfilled life.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And if you look at maybe the history of it also, I think especially in the Black families, we didn't have a choice but to be independent. And our parents, think about it, we grew up in a household where there are no fathers. And that's pretty much what we were taught. You know what? The guys are going to leave at some point. So might as well you be independent. You have you go for what you want and just be independent. I don't think they were saying live without a man, but the guys did leave, right? So we had no choice but to be independent. And I think that's the message. It's not like we don't want men, but they will leave at some point, and we have to fend for ourselves.
Yeah.
Latoya, what do you think?
So from a personal viewpoint, I grew up in a 2-parent household. And so I think from both my mother and father, I was raised to be independent of a man. Just so that if they did leave, right? Because we know that sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. So let's say that they do. If they do leave, I can stand on my own 2 feet. I can pay my own bills. I can provide for myself. If I had children, I could care for them without having to be overtly concerned about how am I going to make ends meet. But at the same time, if they didn't leave, right, how can I be a partner in that relationship? And so that man does not feel that burden of that traditional old school, our great-grandparents, grandparents, I have to provide so that she can, stay home and provide for the family. I think we see the shift in the Black woman, where if you think about even in yourself, when did you have children? What level of education did you pursue? And so we're seeing that Black women are pursuing higher levels of education, that they're having children at later ages, because they want to have a sense of independence and stability. And I don't think that means that we exist in this world without a partner.
Right.
So man or woman, I don't think that we want to exist without partnership. I think we want to be viewed as a partner, though, and not viewed as a subordinate or submissive, in the sense where I have to submit because I can't afford to be independent in this relationship.
But it always seems that we have to, it's either one or the other. Why can't we have both? Why can't we be independent and also have a partner? Because I think we all do want that. But I feel like the messages was like, okay, you're an independent woman, so you don't need a man, or you know, a man doesn't have a place in an independent woman's life. And I hate that message.
I think that's social media, though, because you see a lot of women on social media like, I don't need no man, I'm independent. So they put those words together. I don't need a man and independent. Mm-hmm. So social media is pushing that to say that we don't want him. If we're independent, we don't need a man.
I ain't gonna say I don't need a man.
I ain't gonna say that either.
I wholeheartedly need, I'm not gonna say, like, I don't need a man to feel, I think where the message gets lost is that women start to think I need a man to feel confident and secure in who I am.
Yes.
And so that's the primary message behind that idea of being independent. So it wasn't independent of just a man. It was even independent of my friendships, right? Because who I grew up with, you know, and where I grew up didn't mean that I had to succumb to my environment or the things that my friends were doing. Right. That I can be an independent thinker, and I can be, you know, willing to explore and go out and see the world and still come back and still be able to, you know, kick it with my homegirls, you know, where I grew up at, and still be Toya at the beginning and end of the day. And so I feel like I need a man because a man can bring certain things to my life, right? So if I'm in a good place and I'm feeling whole as a woman, as Toya, then when I'm in partnership with someone else, we bring so much more to one another, right? I'm not drawing from him to make me emotionally stable because I already am in that place. He's already hopefully in that place. So now we can anchor one another. And if we start to falter, we can recognize that and be each other's, you know, pillar of support. But when you're lacking in things in yourself, then you start to draw that from your partner, and that can be exhausting. So I will say that I need a man as a complement, but not a man as a foundation. I'm gonna just say I don't need it as a foundation. I'm securing who I am and where I am. But I want you.
Right. And I think, okay, so I have an issue with how the question is phrased, right? I don't feel as if I, as a woman, need to know how to keep a man. I think it's kind of one-sided, right? I think it's a partnership. I think, to LaToya's point, we can complement each other's lives, but I shouldn't be placed in a position to then determine how to figure out how to keep a man. Because at the same time, he has to figure out how to integrate into my life as well, and vice versa. The whole question itself is kind of a weird, twisted question where I feel like we both should complement each other's lives. And to be clear to men, independent women, like some of us are, all of us here, we're definitely not saying that we don't want men, because we do want men, right? But I think that men should also just realize and recognize that historically, systematically, it's been designed that we kind of survive without men, because many times they may not show up in our lives in the way that we want them to. So oftentimes we are left to fend for ourselves, and with that so doing, that may be a turnoff to a man, because then it's being seen as if there's no place in our lives for them, which is not the case. It's just the fact that we're in survival mode all the time. We're consistently in survival mode.
Exactly.
There may be a lack of men around, and we already know there's a man's shortage in the right? There's a shortage of men. We already know that in the black.
There's a shortage.
Right.
No, the good men, though.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're losing them to whatever it is, whatever systematic issues there are. So that they kind of need to, what we want from men is to understand and empathize why we kind of operate the way we do, and not think that we don't need them, because we do. We just understand that we are independent because of circumstances.
Right.
And Renee, to your point, I would also say that because women have evolved so much, that the notion of us, having to keep a man, I feel like they need to, grow in their thinking about, how do I go about enriching this woman's life? Because we don't need them as, the ones to be the breadwinners as much as in the past, right? And so I think it requires a shift on their part for them to understand how we as women have evolved and what our needs are now that we have evolved. And so then I think that would help them understand how to keep us, right? Because it's all about meeting needs. Right. And so we're articulating, this is what my need is. And we're saying I require, intimacy and time. But this is a man who was raised to be a provider. And more times than not, providing takes you out of the house. So your time is limited. And so it's like, you got to be listening to me. I'm telling you what I need, but are you hearing me?
Right. All right. So one other question. Again, this is coming straight from men now, the way the questions are worded. It says, why do women nag?
If y'all don't know, I
know.
So
I don't, the word nag bothers me. I don't think we nag. I think as women, we pay so much attention to details that these men don't. And we have to constantly remind them what needs to be done. So my thing is not nag. It's just like, if you do what we ask of you, and if you take the time to really pay attention to what we asked of you, then we wouldn't have to come back and ask you again. So I don't think that's nagging. I just think that we just follow, pay attention to details, and we're about that.
I just figure if they get it done, the first time, and like she said, just pay attention, then it won't be mentioned again. To me, that sounds easy. You know, whatever the issue is, just do it. Just do it, and that's it. That's it. It's done.
Well, I think there's two parts to it. So you have the issue of someone giving their word, like a person saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then based off of what they said they're going to do, you have an expectation for them to do whatever that thing is. On the other part, it is our emotional state, where we're communicating to our partners how we feel. And sometimes I can understand how sometimes our explanation of our feelings and our emotions at the time can come off as nagging. So it's two different things, because we can't, I shouldn't say we can't, but I would say that it's unreasonable to expect for someone to meet us where we are all the time. People can't read our minds, and our emotional state presents in different ways. So what we're feeling sometimes may not translate to what they see. And so I can understand how it comes off as nagging. So I'm not trying to hype the guys up on this at all. I'm not.
But I think it's a valid point, Jamie, though, because like we have expectations of our partner, and we don't always articulate it or articulate it well. And so we interact with them, and we want them to know, like, when I'm saying this to you, I'm really saying I want time. Or if I say, nothing is wrong, I really want you to figure out, that something is wrong and what it is that's bothering me. And so I think how learning each other's communication style and being comfortable enough to truly identify and then say what it is that's bothering you, and then give them the opportunity to work on it. It's not going to happen overnight.
Absolutely.
In some cases, they might actually do it immediately, but then they forget, they go back to their old pattern. And so, we have to, I feel like relationships are just like a steady compromise. And sometimes you have to negotiate that, I don't have time to do pillow talk tonight, So just respecting that they may not always be in a position to meet our needs, and giving them the opportunity to do so without having to constantly rehash it. And I was watching something yesterday, and they said one play, right? So whatever it is, that one thing that you're talking about, but don't bring up about 2 weeks ago when he didn't do, and you'll never do, and you speak in absolute, because then men shut,
Yes.
you know.
Right.
Yes.
I disagree. Here's the deal. I think that women more so than men clearly articulate. And for men, it could be seen as one-sided, but I believe that women in general are better communicators than men. And when we set an expectation, and that's just a loose way of saying it, right? I'm not necessarily saying that, you know, I'm the boss and this is what you got to do. But when expectations are being explored, and you know something is said or an expectation is thrown out there, and then if it's deemed as something that's doable, and you know it's not unreasonable, and for the person to not do it, that's when the nag comes in. That's when men say that we're nagging, because you are not fulfilling a request that was made. And if there's a month that passes and say it hasn't been done, it's going to be brought up again. Because in our heads, as in women's heads, it's like, okay, it's a simple request that was said a while back. I think within that time frame, if it's a reasonable request, it should have been done. But if we then go back and ask about it, men deem it as nagging when it's just basically a request or an expectation that was unmet. So I don't really believe that. I think men take it out of context, and I think women are naggers. I agree, but they're naggers for a reason. There's a reason behind it. We're not just naggers because we're women. We're naggers because oftentimes men are not fulfilling something that we're requesting for them to do.
Was it clearly communicated, and was it understood as something?
Right.
So I'm trying to think of cases where, I'm trying to think of specific scenarios where someone would say, "Oh, you're nagging," and I can't come up. The only thing that I can think of is if I'm thinking about housework. My spouse said, "You know what? I'm gonna cut the grass today," and I'm like, "Okay, you go cut the grass."
Right.
It goes, the grass still not cut. And so I'm asking again. I thought because you said I didn't ask you to.
Exactly.
Are you going to cut the grass? So, but that is something that he offered. That's not something that I'm like, "Hey, you need to go cut that grass." And now I'm like, "You need to go." You know what I mean? So, as far as my personal needs, like if I'm giving a request, and that need is not met, then I wouldn't. For me, it would be a conversation, not a nagging, because I'm not in the space to beg any person to take care of my emotional needs. If you can't, if I've clearly communicated that to you and we've had a decent conversation about it, and I felt that you received what I was saying, if you choose to not honor that, then maybe you need to look at other options. I'm not about to beg you to, nah, bruh.
Yeah. Nothing.
I personally think that anytime you ask them to do something more than once, it's just nagging to them, period. That's just the only way that they see it, especially if our tones change or we're slightly getting aggressive about it. To us, sometimes it's just a conversation. But to them, if it's a repeated conversation, then they take it as nag.
As a nag.
Exactly.
Right. So I want to ask another question because I know the guys are going to come for us. Renee, something that you said, right? That women are better communicators than men.
I think so.
I think so too.
I definitely think so.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes, but here's the deal. We communicate differently. We already understand that. I think men communicate differently from women. I think women uses a lot of words.
Yes.
Men may use actions. Oftentimes, though, obviously you can get a picture from words that are said versus actions, because your actions could mean you could do something and it could be interpreted as maybe he's upset, or maybe he's not upset. Maybe he's just tired. I can't read minds. So if I tell you I'm tired, that's an easier communication than you shutting down and going to bed because you're tired.
Yes.
could be something else, right? So I do believe women are better communicators than men.
Okay.
Period.
What do y'all think on that one?
I think so. I think we're better communicators because we actually say what we're feeling. A lot of the guys that I know really don't really talk that much, and you have to kind of figure out based on their mood or the way they act to figure out what's going on. They'll rather not talk a lot when they're having an issue. Most of the guys that I know, very few guys I know that actually will tell you that how they're feeling. They'll rather just kind of go walk it off or something like that. But women, we're going to tell you, listen, today I'm not, whatever it is, I think we're better overall. Yeah.
Anybody else?
So I would say, you know, I'm not to beat up on the men. So I'm going to give them a little, you know, leeway on this one.
Okay.
I would say that I think you're right, Keisha, that we are better in using our words and men are better in using their actions. But I still think it's their way of communicating.
Okay.
Right? So I think about, you know, times where, you know, my boyfriend may have not wanted to tell me no. So he'll call and he'll do something like, man, I had a real, you know, bad day. It was long. Oh, and so instead of just saying like, maybe we need to, you know, go out tomorrow, it's, I'm going to let her know how tired I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then she will hopefully decipher from that
True.
that we're going to have
That is
a different night. And so you have to learn each other's communication style, right? And I think where it becomes nagging is because we're such vocal creatures that we want them to hear us. We want them to, when we're having an argument, for lack of better words, right? Why won't you argue back with me? And it's like, because that's not what men do. They're not vocal. They're action oriented. So it goes back to them being providers, and being a provider originated from being a hunter. So they are doers, right? And so they're much more concrete than we are. They're much more solution focused than we are.
Okay.
And so they don't want to sit and ruminate and go back and forth about the issue. They want to know, all right, you done said that. Now what are we going to do?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So the next question is, why is it that when a woman finds a good man with good qualities, she then turns and says that he's not her physical type?
He's not.
That goes down to that. All of that boils down to a person's upbringing, and even the smallest details about how a person is raised in their social environment has such a huge impact on how we receive love, what we find attractive, what we look for in a man, and even the types of relationships or the types of people that we are drawn to. So, I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but Latoya is, so I know that she can speak on this. But you know, at the very baseline, women are nurturers. We're raised to nurture. To, you know, you're the mother. You have to take care of things. You have to be kind-hearted. And in that nurturing, I feel that we like to problem solve, or there has to be something that we have to take care of to help along the way. And so when you have someone who doesn't need help, who's whole, and I like that Latoya used that, because when someone says they're looking for someone to complete them, that scares me, because if you're not complete by yourself, then that's too much pressure. It's too much pressure. I need you to be whole, and then we can help each other out. But I think that we look for things to fix, and if someone is already put together, it kind of takes away the excitement. So it's like, oh, well, what am I going to do? So, but then on the other side of that, people have preferences, you know, like some people prefer darker complected people, some people prefer light, you know, like people have preferences. God knows where that comes from, but you like what you like. I don't mind looking at art. In fact, I love art. And if a man is well sculpted, thank you for your art. Thank you. You know, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
Did you meet somebody because they're not your physical type, though?
For me, I look beyond what I see on the outside.
Oh boy.
And I think a lot of people, I feel like obviously if I first meet someone, then there has to be something physical there for me to even be attracted to you. But if we get to know each other and we become friends, and I find there are qualities in you that go beyond your physical appearance, then I am more attracted to the person than I am the physical appearance.
Good. All right.
And so, I think we place too many limitations on what we will date or what we will do, and because of those limitations, we miss out on really great people. So I don't want to miss out on people. So I mean, if you're not, I don't know what the standard is. They like them tall, dark, and handsome. That's what the standard is. If you're not tall, 6'7", whatever, okay, that's fine.
What do you think, Denisha or Latoya?
I've tried, and I mean, wealthy, nice, educated, but when he would sit across from me and eat, and he would just be I would just be looking at him like, I cannot do this.
Oh,
like
wow.
I can't.
Right.
Like, I mean, honestly, I mean, you're attracted to what you're attracted to. So, and you want, and it sounds good to say, oh, I'm going to get to know the inner person and all that. That's when you first meet someone, that's not what you're looking at. You know, when you see something, when I see something tall, dark, and handsome, or light, slim, and handsome, that's what I'm looking at. So, and then I get to know them and I'm like, okay, he got all that on the outside, but there's no substance. Then that's when I'll change route. But when I initially meet someone, I don't know what kind of qualities you got going on. You know what I mean? So I'm going to get to know you. But if it's just really, really bad on the outside, I'm just going to be honest. I can't do it. And I mean, I've tried. We're just better off as friends, because you can't make yourself physically attracted to somebody if that's not what you like, no matter how good it is for you. Like, I mean, wheatgrass is good for you, but you just not going to drink it if you just don't like it. That's the way I feel.
Right.
Okay, so listen,
I don't care how good it is for me,
right,
how good it is on the inside, but if I don't like the taste, I can't swallow it.
Hello.
I think it's a double standard. Anisha, you're funny, by the way. I think it's a double standard because men have the opportunity to have a plethora of choices and women, and I like it long hair, I like it, whatever. But then when we have a physical preference, that's when, but you're overlooking the fact that he's a good man. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
Absolutely.
I understand that you're a good man, and maybe some good woman should be with you. Absolutely. But I don't believe that it's a double standard at the end of the day. And men will say that in a minute, when they are the ones who actually they have types as well. They have physical types as well. So I think it's a double standard.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Listen, I think it's like we always have to choose. Why can't we have it all? Why can't we have the physical guy that we so desire, and as well as the good guy on the inside? I feel like I genuinely try. There are certain guys that I'm attracted to, and yes, it's not always the physical thing, but I think you have to, when you meet a guy, to have a physical connection first. I mean, yes, you can find out later on that he's a scumbag, or later on that he's actually a nice guy, but I feel like I don't want to have to choose. I want to have a nice guy physically and everything else and be happy. And yeah, I think the guys who come up with that question is probably fat guys.
Breathing through his mouth all day long.
Okay. So what is, next question. What is the biggest misconception you think men have about women? The biggest misconception.
I think men oftentimes put us all in a bucket, and I oftentimes think that men think that all women are emotional, because we do recognize that a lot of times men make decisions from a practical standpoint, but there are women out there like that as well, who they're not emotional, and they make their decisions based on facts and things that are practical. But I think men in general just look at us as all just emotional beings.
Right.
There's some emotional men out there too. Ooh.
Yup.
If you ever met one.
Yes.
They are.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, like why? Why?
Yes.
I think I had I talked to a friend, and I asked him what was, the misconception, and to touch on when you said they're all emotional. Like, I'm the type of woman, when I tell a man to tell me the truth, I actually mean for him to tell me the truth. Because if I'm with you already and I think you've done something that you shouldn't have done, I already think you've done something wrong and that you're lying to me, and I'm still there. So what makes you think if you tell me the truth, I'm not going to still at least try to work on it with you, and just because you can respect the truth. When you lie to me, you're taking away my choice to make a decision, whether to stay or whether to go. So and there are a lot of women out there that if you tell them the truth, they just go ballistic. You know what I'm saying? We're going to naturally get upset. We're going to get upset if you tell us a lie. But when you're honest with us and you just tell us straight up, then we'll calm down. And then from that point on, we have to decide, okay, so am I going to move forward with this, or am I just going to let it go? But when you continue to do those things and you're not honest about it, then that's when it's just, we're constantly going back and forth. It's hard for us to give up on someone that I care about. And then you're stuck, like, is he lying? Is he telling me the truth? Or, so I just want, when I say I want someone to be honest with me, I want you to be honest with me, no matter what it is, and let me go from there. Because I can always respect the honesty. I can't respect you if you just constantly keep lying to me. And then I'm just going to leave, and I'm just going to always be wondering, personally.
So, Denisha, one question. Do you think they have to make it soft?
No. I'd rather you give it to me. Give it to me hard. Give it to me. No, man, don't sugarcoat it with me. Don't spare my feelings, because when I'm feeling something, the type of woman I am, I'm just gonna tell you, like, straight up. And this is what it is. And I've had men tell me that, like, I express what I want and what my needs are, and it can come off kind of aggressive, and it's intimidating.
Oh my
but
God.
My thing is, then that lets me know right then you're not the man for me.
Exactly.
Because I need to be able, I can't censor myself around you. I'm not gonna disrespect you, but I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
That's just how I feel. Like if I feel you need to touch up on your hygiene, I'm gonna tell you need to touch up on your hygiene.
Right.
And I'm willing to stay with you after you fix. I'm willing. Hey, but I don't know. They just think that. But there are some people who can't handle the truth. They'll tell you that, and they really can't handle it.
But I feel like when guys, when they think that we can't handle honesty and just decide to lie to us without really knowing our reaction, they take away our choice, the choice that we have. So
yes,
you can't and assume you just give it to me and let me make a choice of what I'm going to do about it.
But like Denisha said, there are a lot of women can't handle it because they want the man to do it in a soft way, or they want the man to beat around the bush instead of coming straight forward. So I think now the man has to think, how do I tell her the truth without hurting her feelings?
But I think you can't be direct.
Go ahead, LaToya.
I was going to say, I think it's about knowing your partner, because there are women out here who can handle the truth, and they can handle it straight, no chaser. Then you have other women, they be like, look, I need you to serve it on the rocks, or I need a cocktail because this is not going to go down smooth. And some women can't tolerate it, because in their minds, even when they have that feeling in their heart, that little thought in the back of their head, they want the man to prove them wrong.
Right.
Don't validate what it is that I'm feeling. And so as soon as you think, you already thinking that he cheating because he's flipping his cell phone over, he not answering calls, but you don't want him to confirm that for you, because then it makes it real. And once it's real, you can't deny it anymore. and you have to deal with it. And you have to make a choice. Do I stay or do I go? Am I going to look crazy if I continue to date him knowing he's cheating on me, or knowing that, you know, he just ignores my calls, whatever the case may be, or, you know, he's bored with me, right? Because a lot of women internalize those messages to mean that there's something wrong, right? They're not strong enough or equipped enough to realize that men's actions are based on them. It's not based on us, right? So, you know, their ability to tell us information and be communicative with us, yes, that is a navigation of knowing the person that you're with. I am more like Denisha, where I can handle it straight. And yeah, I'm gonna get upset and I'm gonna need a minute, and give me that minute. Respect me when I say give me a minute, because when you keep pushing, then I can be explosive.
Right. Yeah.
Need a minute. Let me get back from that emotional state to my wise mind, where I can be rational about my thinking process, because I might end up staying.
I think the base of a lie is, first of all, self-preservation.
Yes.
So people who come up with, oh, I lied because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. No, boo, you lied because you wanted to be kept.
Right.
Because your feelings were already hurt. That's why you're discussing it. So you didn't care about my feelings. My feelings are already hurt.
Exactly. You lied because you didn't want to be exposed. So instead of dealing with that, first of all, if we're to the point where I'm asking a question about something that you may or may have not done, it's because I have a gut feeling or I have proof. So I'm not asking you for my help. I'm asking you just to see if you're gonna tell me the truth. Because you know, when you was growing up, when your mama asked you that question, hey, so did you eat that cookie? And you like, no, mama. She already knew the answer. It's the same with us.
So, like what Latoya was saying when she said you don't want to face it. So you're gonna constantly be thinking, well, should I leave, or should I stay, or should I go, and all that. But truthfully, you're already doing that. You're already in that state of mind, because you already know he's done it. So for you to man up and say you've done it, oh yes, I am attracted to her, and I would say, okay, good, because you're not, for some reason they think that when we with them and we loving them right and doing what we supposed to be doing, that they the only person that we like, right? Or they the only person that we're attracted to.
Go on, tell it, honey.
Hey, brother, I know you attracted, because you ain't the only flavor that I say. Right. So like because they making you feel good, they think like, oh, okay, there ain't nobody else for her but me. No, just like you think you got options, I got them too.
Right.
Well, I guess I would pose a question, right? And I know the men are asking the questions, but I would pose a question to us as women. Why do we need that? When we have that feeling, why do we need that answer from them? Whether they're going to be honest, they're going to sugarcoat it, they're going to tell us the truth. What is it about us as women that we need to have that almost like that closure? Like, I have this thought, but it's just a thought. So I need him to confirm or disconfirm this before I will make an action plan. Why aren't we independent in our thinking, right, about the relationship, to say, you know what, if I'm already feeling like you out there doing something, it's because you're not doing something right in this household. So I need to address that, right? And I need to address myself, and why am I allowing you to continue to do these same things? And I'm not sitting here on a high horse, because I've been in those situations where it's like, come on, like I'm trying to work with him, I'm trying to ask him and trying to let him know how I feel. But at the same time, then I have to give myself a gut check and say, Toya, what are you doing that you calling this man, asking him 2 and 3 times, are we still going out? You already dressed, going out. Right. And then when he calling, he say, what you doing? Oh, I went out. It starts to create behavior change, because now they realize, oh, right, she got
exactly
options. And it might not even be an option of a man. I might be out with my girlfriends, but I'm out. I ain't telling you who I'm with. I'm just going to let you know I'm out.
Right. I'm not waiting on you. I'm going to keep it pushing.
I think it's important.
Yeah, but I think that we do that. We stay. I think we do that when we have that gut feeling, because for me personally, if I just like you, I'm rolling. I just like you. But if I really, truly love you, I understand that no one is perfect. I have my flaws, but they might not be the same as yours. And I'm just not ready to give up yet.
And I think that's
just me personally. I'm not ready to give up.
I think that's a very real and honest answer.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that as women, that's what we have to reflect on a little bit more, right? You know, what is it about that person that we love so much that we're willing to stay and sacrifice having our needs be met or met minimally?
Like, I feel for me personally, I say if I can stay with this man and look at myself in the mirror and still smile and feel good about what's looking back at me, you know, then I can go forward. But if I'm feeling shameful and I'm not feeling good, I can't do it because I'm not going to shine then because I feel embarrassed. I feel, I mean, it's just, I don't know, just for me personally, that's how it is. If I can be with you and still hold my head high, you know, but also too, when you know they're doing something they're not supposed to be, per se, like if they're cheating, you know they're doing that, they give and accept your apology only still doing the same thing. You know, that's not it for me. You have to show me. You have to prove it. So
right. Well, all right. So are traditional gender roles still important today? And if they are, why?
That question was hard for me.
Oh, really?
Because what do you mean by that exactly?
So you know how?
Yes. I mean, I know what I think about it.
So with
far as
like you know how back in the days the men are the ones that work, they do everything external according to one of our friends, and the women are the ones that do everything internal. So the women take care of the house, they wash, you know, take care of the kids, do certain things. So like back in the days where our grandmothers and all that was doing. Or is it the same today like how it was back then?
Okay,
I don't think so.
That's what I thought it meant.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. And I don't think it should be.
You say you don't think it should be?
I don't think it should be. Not, is the woman working? If the woman's not working, then of course she would take care, you know, she would take on that traditional role. But that's like 5 different jobs. So if he just going to one, I got 5. You know what I'm saying? And these are our children. These aren't just my children.
Right.
So I feel like sometimes, you know, like you go out of town and you leave your husband home with the kids, you got to tell them what the kids are allergic to. So I don't agree with that. Like being
your own children,
being married and you're a single parent, right? Or I have women say, well, you know, let me see if my husband a babysit. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I'm gonna tell you, hey, booty, you got plans to Friday night? Because I do.
Right.
So, and that's it. You ain't got to tell him the kids staying there with him. His kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get that.
There are a lot of people
I mean,
who
if you
think
get
that
home,
way.
right? If you get home before I get home, the meat in the sink, you know what you got to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we both paying bills. We both had these children. We both purchased this home. I mean, we both live in this household. I think it should be a partnership. It shouldn't be, oh, the woman does this and the man does this, because I can push a lawnmower just like you can flip a pancake.
Right.
So, I mean, who gets to it, and I don't always want to get to it first.
That's right.
I mean, that's just on a real note.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree with Denisha. I think that that has changed. Women are now more in the working force. They're out working, doing some of the same things as men. I believe that when you're in a relationship, it's a partnership. You determine as a union how that household is going to be ran. So if at the end of the day, if my man gotta cook or clean, if that's what he chooses to do because of whatever reason, then I think we'll make a decision together that that's what he's going to do, or vice versa. If I need to go out and mow the lawn or whatever, it's a partnership. And I think we should get out of these whole gender role type of situation, because no longer are women in the household just doing work at home.
Right.
Women are out. And to Denisha's point, if I'm out and I work a 9 to 5 and sometimes come home at 6, 7 o'clock in the night and then have to cook and then have to bring the kids, bathe the kids and have them go to bed. It's a lot of work that's being done. So again,
you're a single parent.
It's almost as if
yeah, basically.
So,
you're a single parent with a grown child. Don't nobody have time for that.
Right. You're a single parent with the monthly stipend. He helping pay the bills. That's it.
Exactly.
But
The only place there should be a gender role is in the bedroom. That's it.
Oh yes, girl. Oh, sorry.
Oh no. That's another thing.
You
We'll talk about that another time. That's a whole other conversation.
That's the only thing you can do that I can't do is in that room.
Denisha, it depends on the toys. It depends on what you got.
Hey, next
But if you want me to do that to you, I don't want
No.
to. Okay.
That's another
I'm not
topic.
comfortable with that.
Another topic.
You could go.
Another topic. All right. So isn't it sexy when a man could be in the kitchen though?
Yes.
I like that.
I love
I
it.
like gender roles.
Yes, honey. Wash them dishes. Sex.
Yes.
Love it.
Just wake up,
Yes.
breakfast with some underwear on. Going to. All right. Sorry.
You got that art thing going on?
No, but just let me touch on that right there. Like men always say, well, why don't you put on some lingerie for me? Why don't you put on some for me? Like, what makes you think I don't want you walking around in polka dot drawers? Let me see what you working with. Because I'm attracted to you too.
Right.
Let's spice it up.
All right.
Amen.
All right. Let's go. All right. Next question. Men oftentimes say that women overthink things and not take it at face value. Do you agree?
Yes, because if we took it at face value, we wouldn't even be together.
Right?
Period. Like if you took it like, oh, he's not answering the phone. Oh, so that means he don't want to be bothered. So then we're done. Because half the time men aren't going to pursue after that. You know what I mean? I found that if you stop chasing them, they don't put forth as much effort as we do to continue to make something work.
Mm.
So if we took their actions at face value, I feel like there wouldn't be any relationships because we would just take it as, okay, he got his phone flipped over. He cheating. I'm done. That's face value enough for me. Or like we were talking about when we had that gut feeling, we have that gut feeling. So that's at face value. If it's walking like a duck, talking like a duck, quacking like a duck, it's a duck.
Yeah.
So if we took it as face value, there would be no, I'd be like, boo, there would be no us.
Right.
If I took it at face value. Because it'd be just one and done. You understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's just me.
What do y'all think? Do women overthink?
Definitely that.
For me, I do. I know that I do, but I'm constantly thinking. I think that's something that women do because of the many roles that we have and the many hats that we wear. We're constantly have to think about things anyways, and then also having to be a planner requires you to think. For me, I don't want to just everything. You know the whole picture of the igloo. You have what you see, and then you have this huge underlaying of what really is going on. So I don't think that it would prove prudent to just take things as you see them. Because just because your guy put the phone down doesn't mean that he's cheating. Maybe he's trying to make plans for you, but you too nosy and you won't get his man the time to give you what he's trying to do. So but I think that question was asked in a negative way. That question was like, if I tell you I'm about to go to the store, why are you asking me where I'm at?
Right.
And that's not an overthinking issue. That is a trust issue.
Yeah.
Two different things.
Would you say?
I was going to say that we do that based on previous experience, right? So when you think back to like your very first relationship, you probably were told, if I could find my very first boyfriend and have him talk to my boyfriend today, they would describe me as totally different people. And not simply just because I've aged, right? But because I've had relationship experiences in between that have shifted how I engage in a relationship. When my first relationship, when I reflect on it, I was naive, I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, just so hopeful and optimistic about the relationship. And as you get your heart broken a couple times, then you start to have these defenses that present, and you're like, I don't want to know what that feels like anymore, because that hurt like hell. It took me a minute to come back from that. And so when you get with this person now, at my age, it's like, look, I done had me some relationships, and I done been through some lying. I done been through some cheating, some babies being born. I done had some situations that now when you flip that phone over, I'm going to automatically think that you out here doing something until you prove me that you're reliable. So I don't go in with 100% trust. I don't go in with 100% faith in you putting my heart and my feelings first, because so many times when I have, it's been violated. So I need in that, not even in that first 6 months when you putting on that person for me, not your character. When I want to see you once we're good and in a relationship, and we've had an argument already, and we had to work through some conflict. I want to know that person, right? Because we all have a representative in the beginning where we're amazing people. Myself, I'm amazing, right? I don't nag about anything because I don't have to, because you're putting your representative forward, and so you're calling all the time. Let's go out. Let's do this. Let's do that. You get to about a year in, and all of a sudden things shift. And I think that's when the true person that you're in a relationship with emerges. Somewhere between maybe 9 and 12 months, that true person emerges, because you start to have, you start to see that person for who they are. And then that's when you start to have to figure out, is this somebody I really want to be with? Right. Is it more than just the physical? Because, the sex might be good, but do I really like this person? Right? Do I like his character? Do I like his values? Do we have similar morals and values and similar goals? Can we motivate each other? You start having those thought processes, because for women, a lot of times we're like, I'm looking for a partner and I don't want to keep dating. Dating is not my goal for life or for relationships. I want to find a partner and stop this. And a lot of times for men, they're like, I'm dating. If it happens, it happens. Once they get older, they're looking for a partner, but it's hard.
Once they get old and raggedy.
That's why it's important to ask those questions up front, just being direct, what exactly are you looking for? What is your expectation in what we're doing here? And being receptive to whatever is said. And then also it's important to, like you said, everyone sends out their avatar, but every relationship that we're in, there should be a requirement for the other person to earn our trust. And we should also have that requirement for ourselves, that we earn the trust of the other person. I don't think that it's fair to just say, oh, I'm just going to give you blind trust. Because people are people. We all come from different experiences, different backgrounds. So everyone should come in any relationship, friendship, relationship, whatever, with the understanding that they need to earn the other person's trust. Right. And if I have any insecurities from the jump, if we're friends, I would hope that you would get to know me on a deeper level as a friend. And then if that friendship turns into we're interested in becoming more, then you already have a baseline of who I am. So in that baseline, you've already been exposed to some of my insecurities. So if I'm telling you this certain behavior triggers me and this is why, and you do it, then okay, we'll talk about it, but I've already told you. Right. And maybe that's where that nagging coming from. See, we already talked about this, but you're not listening. You know what? Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it.
So I think Toya touched on this earlier. Should a man get to know a woman's love language or love her the way he wants to?
If he wants me to stay, he better learn my love language. And the same for him, right? I need to learn his communication style, his love language, his conflict resolution style, right? Because we're not made the same. We're just not. I mean, even if you have two women in a relationship or two men in a relationship, they're still not made the same. And so we have to learn one another, respect one another's style, and be willing to provide that, right? So I'm someone who I show my love through gifts. But that may not be your partner's style. My partner is very affectionate and in tune with my emotions. And it's like, ooh, I wasn't used to that. So it was like, where did that come from? But then that let me know that that's what he needed from me. And then that let him know what I was looking for. And so we got a little bit of both. Because if you're honest with one another and you find a compatible partner, the affection and things that he needs, when he gives it, I get the warm and fuzzy feeling the same as I get when I get a gift. But I'm not as willing and open to say that that's what I need, right? Because then that makes me vulnerable. That puts me in a space where I'm letting you know that I'm catching feelings for you. But if I keep it as a gift thing, then that keeps you on the surface and it keeps it superficial.
Yeah.
What's wrong with letting them know that you are catching feelings? Like, what's wrong with being vulnerable? And I'm the pot calling the kettle black, because I'm like, we can be friends. You cool where you at, I'm cool where I'm at. But what's wrong with being vulnerable?
I wouldn't say there's anything, and I'm gonna speak for me and not as a professional. I'm gonna speak as, just Toya. For me, because I've been vulnerable in the past and I've been hurt in a way where it just like rattled me, I am not in the beginning gonna put myself in a space to let down my guard enough. I have to get to a point where I feel like I can trust you. I feel like you've protected my heart. I feel like even when we have disagreements or I don't like something that you did, that you still do it from a place of love and it's not any maliciousness there. Once I know that and I can feel secure in that, then I will slowly let my guard down and really show you how much I love you, and I can start to, resonate with that emotional side. But it makes you vulnerable, and when you're vulnerable, it makes you susceptible to the good and the bad. And that bad sometimes can be so heavy that you're just like, I don't want to risk it until I know that you're worth me risking it for, or that we're worth it, and that I'm committed to it. I'm gonna stay in the fight, the good, the bad, the ugly. If you cheat, I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna be hurt, but I'm gonna stick it out, and I'm gonna try and figure out, what led you to do that, and try and problem solve and work with you and figure out, is this a relationship that's salvageable? But I gotta get there.
Yeah, and you know what, Latoya, I had this guy 2 months into talking to him. He was like, oh, you have a lot of walls up. I was like, I don't know you like that, not to have walls up. Can I have a chance to really get to know you? I mean, I feel like we have to get to a space where I feel like I can be vulnerable, and that takes time for me to open up. And I feel like I hate when guys try to rush you into feeling a certain type of way and not giving it a chance. Like, I can't put my walls down 2 months into knowing you or just talking to you on the phone. Like, I don't know. And then I wondered, like, what kind of vibes was I giving him? But yes, I do have walls up because I want to protect my space, and I don't want everybody to enter this protected space that I have. So give me some time to know you, and if it needs to get there, then it'll get there.
And I think we can do that as long as we communicate that, right?
Yes,
and so
exactly.
And then when you're going out on a date, I think it's important to talk about that. Not that you're going to rehash your history, but as you're on the date and you're saying, what are you looking for, right? Or they're asking you, what are you looking for? Well, I'm looking to build a friendship because I done been through some things in my life that, really, it took a lot of work to get to a place where I was open and ready and willing to go and consider being in relation to another person.
Yeah.
And so whoever I decide to, open up to, if it's you, I need to know that I can trust you. I need to know that you're a man that has good character, that you are a man that, stands on his word and has good integrity. Because if you start off good, but then you fall off, then I'm likely to retreat, right? And so I think that requires us to be comfortable enough to have those hard conversations. And I am good at having or bringing up the hard conversation. And I think for my boyfriend, he'll say that's where I'm the overthinker, because if I start to feel something in my spirit, I'm going to speak on it, and I'm not going to let it just fester and not address it. I'm not going to sit around and wait. I'm too old, or I feel like I'm too old relationship wise to be sitting around waiting to see in a year who you are. I'm trying to figure
Time is
this out.
precious. Absolutely, time is precious.
Yeah.
And you can't expect for someone to just sit there and figure it out. That is not fair. I wouldn't want to be that other person who you're over here mad or you're not able to be your full self. And I'm sitting up here like, well, what's wrong with you? And you just like figure it out. We grown. Use your words.
Yes.
Use your words.
What I tell you. Okay, men don't use their words.
Well, then we gotta look at the actions, right? And so like
what's the balance?
Are you using your words? I mean, sometimes we really do, and I find myself saying, "Use your words." Like it's so easy,
Right.
but it's not for them. Because think about it: if any of you have sons, right? When they fall, you probably say, "Oh, it's all right. Dust it off, shake it off. You good?"
Yes. Yes.
You like, "Oh my God!" You running over to her, picking her up, and coddling her, right? So men haven't been taught that emotional expression is okay.
It's okay.
It is appropriate. It's still manly. They're told, "Oh, you a man, suck it up. Don't cry." But then when they get in a relationship with one of us as an adult, we're like, "Why don't you talk about your emotions?" I'm sorry.
Yes.
I wasn't taught to.
I just said the same.
Right.
Yes.
And to be honest, I've seen.
That's why we're now educating men to say, use your words. It's okay.
Yes.
We're giving you a free space, a comfortable space, a safe space to use your words, please.
All right.
And that's only with certain people though, because I've seen a lot of, I watch Abba and Preach, and they've done this series on women saying that they want a man to be vulnerable. And they've shown clips of women having that conversation, and then they've shown clips of women's like, what you crying for? Like, what's wrong with you? What are you talking about? Why are you nagging? So it's like people are saying that's what they want. They want you to open up and be emotional. But then when it happens, it's like, what am I supposed to do with that?
For women, right? So
exactly.
The honesty thing that we want from men in dealing with us, but then also that emotional that we're asking for it and we're not always ready for it, right?
Exactly.
And I think it's a time and a place for everything. Like, I don't want you crying all the time, and I don't need you being overly sensitive and whining, and the mama's like, I don't have time for that. But I want to know how you feel, right? And so sometimes I almost feel like I want to put an emotion wheel on my wall in my house and be like, well, how are you feeling today? And don't tell me because that ain't a feeling.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I have one, and I use it with my sons because I'm trying to teach my sons to talk about how they're feeling, because society teaches us that it's okay to have two emotions, and that's anger and happiness. And there's so many emotions that fall underneath anger that you can literally pinpoint, but we don't talk about those things, which means that we can't really get to the root of the problem. And so as long as, I'm sorry?
Where you got that from?
Oh, unfortunately, I got it from a domestic abuse shelter. Unfortunately. Yeah, so.
No, all right, so one last question, because I know we're going over the time. Why do you think some women bring up the past indiscretions consistently in a relationship?
I personally feel, from my experience, if I'm bringing up something that happened in the past, it's because we're having to address that issue again.
Exactly.
And from what I've learned from the space that I went through to where I am now, if I've already told you and we've gotten through a difficult moment and we're back at that place, then clearly what we discussed, the promises that we made to each other, didn't mean enough to you for you to keep that word or for you to do the work. So that means that we just need to part ways. Clearly, there's time is too precious to just continue to wait for you to get it right.
But I feel like it depends on who committed the indiscretion, right? So I feel like if I were cheated on, my husband should, or my partner should be able to say, you know what, I have questions coming up, to be open enough to answer them. Like, my thing is, like, sometimes it's not an easy resolution at first. Like, you could have questions, and I think the partner should be open enough to be able to receive those questions and be okay with it, no matter how long it is. I just feel like it's not just like easy, okay, we talk about it today and it's okay. I think there should be a space left for, if I have more questions, it should be okay for me to come and ask you about it. Like, I don't know. But there's a time.
But I think we typically have more questions because, like, when it takes us back to the question where it says we overthink. Because, okay, when you ask him a question and you'll put it together and you'll be like, well, wait a minute now. He said this, so that don't even make sense. So you have more questions. But, like, I feel like if they just come out and just be honest and upfront, you already basically caught. Yeah. So just be honest and upfront so we can move forward. Because I've had that happen. Like, for years, I asked about this one person, but I already knew in my gut what it was. So then one day in a heated argument, he was like, okay, you want to know? So I effed her. And I was like, thank you. That was it. And honestly, I was so surprised at myself that it never came up again. Because I had that, for me personally, I had that closure that I needed, you know. So that was for me. If you answer, like, my thing is, how dare you get agitated when I'm asking you about your indiscretion?
Indiscretion, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like, who do you think you are? That's okay. Like, what makes you think you special? So let me go out and do it to you, but I'm not tit for tat. But let me go out and play with you and make you think that I done did something and see if you can swallow your own medicine. Oh, homegirls, they cannot swallow it. They can't swallow it. You will get a whole nother man like you never had before. He'll be trying to climb in your skin. Where you been? Where you at? Well, I'm on my way home. Well, how far are you away from the house? Why?
Oh, you at work? What you
I'm
doing
en route.
I'm working. I'm at work.
But,
like, for real.
But I feel like if we
it's
asking questions, I feel like deep down, as you said, Anisha, that we have this gut feeling that something is not right. I think so.
Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
And then they give you, and you turn around and ask them again 6 months later, then they give you another answer.
Right.
Well, wait a minute, I thought you said, but then they get upset all over again. Why you still lying?
Right.
Like, I'm here, I'm with you, I'm trying to get through this with you. But we're only going to get through it if you tell the truth.
And how do you get to
like, you don't want drama.
How do you get to a place where you can actually trust this person when they continue to feed those lies? And it goes back to the question that Latoya asked earlier. Why do we continue to tolerate that? You already know the answer. And
like, for me personally,
if you can't, like, how much of a lie are you willing to take? Because trust is everything, you know?
It is.
And if I continue to give you an opportunity to be honest, and you continue to just say, I'm gonna just go ahead and hold on to this lie, how am I supposed to trust you on other matters?
Right.
Yeah.
For me, I get trust back with change behavior. So personally, I was married. I was with someone for 15 years. And it wasn't really, like, there was one act of indiscretion. Like, there were inappropriate relationships. There were injuries that happened. It wasn't actually, it was just a one incident of actual infidelity. So, and I reached my point when I had nothing else left to give, to where my joy was stolen. I had nothing else left to give, period. And I just couldn't take it no more. So I walked away. But then we were on break for about 2 to 3 years. And he came back to me and he said, because he never wanted the divorce. He never wanted it at all. But you weren't a good husband. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to deal with people calling me babies, none of that type of stuff. He just was not a good husband, period. And I was just tired and I was ready to move on. So years later, he came back to me and he wanted to get back together. And I said, okay, you have to show me that you're willing to get back together with me, that you're willing to put in the work, that you have made these changes. I'm going to continue to date. I'm not going to put all my eggs back in your basket. So as long as you know that and you're comfortable with that, then we'll be fine. You know, it'll be fine. I'll give you that shot. But like I said, I didn't have all those real bad like issues. It was just, he just wasn't mature. So, and he told me he went out and he did some soul searching and he's made himself a better man, but he made himself a better man to try to get his wife back, not for anybody else. And so, I mean, we're good. Right. We're good. We're back together. I mean, he won. I put all my eggs back in his basket again.
Okay. Love wins. Love wins.
Right. Yeah. So, and he has shown that it's been consistent. He is totally a different person.
Yeah.
You know, totally a different person.
That's good.
He talked too much and expressed himself too much.
Good. It keeps the long wins though, right?
Yes, it does. It does.
All right, guys, I really appreciate this. You can follow us all our social media. It's I Got You Podcast. We're on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Do y'all want to put your links out or for people to follow you or no? No, it's okay. All right. But thank y'all so much for doing this, though. I really appreciate this. I love this conversation.
Yeah, this was good. Thank you.